How are you?
Philip, I'm great, but like you and I came off the boat. It's almost 2 weeks now, right?
Is it?
Was it? Yeah, it was Thursday, Friday.
God, it's been that
Yeah,
time is flying,
and I
man.
I still don't have my voice back. I'm not sick, folks. I tested,
I am not
but
feeling well.
it's just I'm not. My voice. It sounds like I've been yelling hookup for the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's kind of. I'm sure it's kind of
Don't say that.
raspy.
Everybody will have you yelling hookup
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah. No, I'll be doing hookup. You're done.
You are so popular. You have a studio audience tonight. We have Michael Limon and
Awesome.
his grandpa
Oh,
here.
he's the
So
best.
they're here
Yep,
with us, and
absolutely.
that's always great.
Absolutely. It's cool.
So there's been, let me throw out a little bit of stuff that went on today, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But we had a yellowfin tuna on the Liberty, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's been a couple, right?
Yeah.
So far this
Does that
year.
say anything about the albacore? Some guys go, oh, there's not going to be any albacore. No,
Just,
right?
you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Nobody has that. Nobody can see in their crystal ball. Mother Nature dictates that. And, I'm betting more on the cooler water, the anchovies, things like that.
Absolutely.
The radio silence on a couple of boats that are out there in the area, they could have something to do. You never know. We won't know till we get out there.
And according to Tommy Holland, there's some commercial activity outside of Cortez and some other areas. So it's getting interesting.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's what my fingers were
And
crossed for. I mean, it brings the people out of the woodwork. It really does.
the CJ sank today up there at Prisoners Harbor at Santa Cruz Island. Of course, we're just thrilled that everybody was rescued and
Absolutely.
everybody is safe. We don't
Absolutely.
know the details or anything else. And we're more about just being grateful everybody's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I see that. I do take it very personal, being a boat owner, landing, and involved in the landing. Because what happens, folks, is when things like this happen, the insurance rates for the boats, it's all on a collective insurance deal, and it's only two companies in the world at one time when I was running boats insured the entire fishing fleet. It was Lloyd's of London and Tokyo Marine. So anytime there is an incident, John Dipley, you know, um, our rates would go up. And so I was never very happy about that. To me, it's negligence, but, we'll see how it shakes out. I'm glad everybody's safe. That's the first and foremost thing.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, I'm never really happy with any of those type of
All right,
deals.
Tommy Tar says he just dropped a card in the mail for Eddie Leland. God bless to both of you. Hey, Tommy, you're the best, my friend. We really appreciate it. Dan Smith says, hello, Phil, Danny, and all you fine fishing folks watching. Also, Dan says, not down at the boat tonight, so we get to watch the whole show. So he's going to watch the whole show tonight, Danny.
Awesome.
That's good, and he's
That's so
such
cool.
a great guy, man. I'll tell you, Danny, you've been yelling hookup too much. He says.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
I think that's
We got a
it.
little excitement on the Apollo too, but it's almost 2 weeks now.
I
You
know.
know, the
Jeff
guy,
Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slingers Club. Good evening, Phil and Danny. Jeff, thank you for your service. Great to see you, my friend. Jamie Argent. Hello, Dan and Philip. Jamie, good to see you. Naughty Boy 78 killed it on the Pacific Dawn. Were you on the Apollo today? No, I wasn't, but why don't you fill us in on what happened on the Dawn? We'd love to hear about it, Naughty Boy.
cool.
Let's see, non channel, is that it? Are we talking about the Big Rock? Dan Smith? Could be yellowfin on the inside and albies on the outside. We've certainly seen that a lot of years, right? You
Different
get that
water
warm
breaks
water
here.
up the
Yeah,
Baja
yeah,
coast,
yeah.
and then, it goes crazy like that. So maybe that's what we're doing. Oscar, man, we got a lot of people on here. Oscar Zarati, thanks for always keeping us informed. Oscar, thank you for your great support. Danny and I both really appreciate it. Israel de la Cruz says, good evening to everybody, Israel. Good evening, Danielle. Good to see you, my friend Emmanuel Navedo. Hi from Florida.
All right.
Hey, thank you
There you
so much
go.
for joining us, Emmanuel. We deeply appreciate it. Carlos Mosquera. Hey, guys. Good to see your faces. Had a great trip with you on the Apollo. Hope you're well. Thanks to Carlos. We all got some white sea bass. He gave
Oh
me
my
some white
God.
sea bass, and
That was unbelievable.
he's such a
We
nice
had-
guy.
we had a
Carlos, it's
great-
so good to see
Great
you.
group of guys.
Man, it was
that
great.
That was
Naughty Boy 78, don't forget to try a bass flasher for halibut. That what they use up north, and it definitely produced. Okay, Tim P. Elephant in the room question. Did you hear about this CJ in the Channel Islands? Yeah, we just talked about that. I'm sure you heard it, Tim. So we definitely broke that story earlier this morning. I kind of had it screwed up a little bit. I'm sick, so my brain is not, my brain is not working well when I'm well, Danny. And now that my brain is under duress, it's even worse.
Yeah, I resemble that.
Dan Smith says, I love your shirt, Danny. He loves your shirt.
He's a part of those old AFCOs I used to represent when Billy Shedd first launched a line of fishing shirts, and that was the start of everything back then.
All right,
That's cool.
it channel. I'm all screwed up. Forgive me. LOL. Nope. Sorry. I was in the middle of the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. Something happened. Okay. Naughty Boy 78. Also hit Jurassic Park for giant reds, one big ling, and a gar, a barracuda. Hey guys, started watching and real cool show. That's Hello McFly, a reference to a great movie. What was the name of that movie? I forget.
Back to the Future.
Yes, thank you. God, see, I'm telling you, I'm not thinking right. Great to see you here. Tim P., are you guys going to the Yellowtail Shootout next weekend?
I'm going to have my own shootout next weekend.
You're going to talk about that
I think
tonight.
we're going to be going down. Yeah, I think we're going down below there.
Yeah.
I'll disclose later. I don't know if I should put it out.
And thank God this gentleman just finally straightened me out. Hey, no name channel. I am screwed up with the flu, so I'm sorry. Dude, no name channel. He had to spell it out for me. I'm so dumb here tonight. Thank you so much. All right, Danny, what did you have in mind for tonight? And guys out there, any questions you might have, fire them in here. We're ready to go for you. But go ahead, Danny.
Well, here's the deal, guys. It's that time of year, and I've been prepping the last couple of days, and I've actually been a little negligent. Usually I start way ahead of time, but I'm leaving on Tuesday for 8 days on the American Angler. And so usually I go through a lot of prepping, and I'm changing all my line, but fortunately it's all fresh, so I don't have to do that. I am going to be changing some rods around. I'm going to be fishing some of these straight graphite prototypes. That's going to be down on the boat for me when I get down to San Diego, and we're going to fill you in on that, but I can't wait. I mean, they should smoke these big tuna, and hopefully we get to implement them on those fish. But, fishing straight graphite, it kind of brings back my old G. Loomis days when we started to fish straight graphite. They're not for everybody. You have to be able to and be cognizant of how you're lifting angles and you're pulling. But if you're utilizing the right angles, keeping the rod down low, your fish are going to come on so much quicker, and particularly now that you have the 2 speeds and you have these powerful reels, so very easy to just keep up the wind. You'll keep that head coming the whole time, and they just will kick themselves right into the gaff, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely, 100%. Travis Bright says, got an overnight next Thursday on the Pacifica. Hey, Travis, good to see you. Looks like we are getting some high winds most of the week. I do see some wind in the forecast, and that makes things a little difficult. You know what that's going to do, Danny, though? It's going to keep this water cool, isn't it? Which means those long fin. Yeah. You do a pretty good imitation, man. You keep that up, I'm going to put a gaff in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis, we'll keep our fingers crossed that you don't run into that. Travis, another great guy. He was on the trip. He had that 33-plus pound yellowtail in the stern of the Apollo. That was a gorgeous fish.
A beautiful fish.
Man, I'll tell you, Travis, I'm still talking about that one.
I do have to tell you, I was sitting there watching everybody, and then I'm watching. Even as I've got bait, I'm walking out the rail, and then that's when I did my face plant. Boom.
Oh, my God, you went down hard.
I went down really hard, yeah. Turns out I actually got an infection because I blew it off. Gail's always saying, what, did you put something? Yeah, I put some medicine on there, it's fine. No, wrong. I had to hear it from her because it's infected. No, I'm on some antibiotics for that too. But a typical guy, hey, we don't need
I know, but hey, to be honest with you, I mean, you went down so hard and you took that so well. You just started going, that's the reason I caught the halibut, because I did a flop right before.
Listen,
and man, I'll tell you.
I had a sensei in judo. He was 80 years old, and he threw me harder than that.
Yeah, heck, you've been through the whole football thing.
Oh, yeah,
and everything else, so.
And that too.
Yeah, For sure. All right, No Name Channel. Hey, I got it right now. No Name. I'm going to go shoot shots. 540 Slinger. Has anyone heard anything about Santa Barbara Island lately? I've heard a little bit. Have you, Danny?
No, I haven't.
I've heard from a private boater. I probably he had some really good sea bass and halibut fishing out that way. But it's also like the current's got to be right, everything's got to be right, or it's pretty dead. But once it bites, it bit really well for one guy that I know. Pretty darn well. He's a really good fisherman, so he knows what he's doing.
That's the problem with Santa Barbara. It's way smaller, Phil.
Right.
Where you can get different conditions at Catalina and Clemente and San Nick because they're big islands. And, and around different points, a lot of times you'll get current going the other way, So, there's a lot more area to fish. You're on to Santa Barbara, and if the spot that you want to fish it's not going correctly,
you're in trouble.
Go?
Yeah.
Go out to Osborne, do some shallow water rock cutting, stuff like that. But yeah, it's the option. So you have to have very good intel before you go out there.
Yes, definitely.
You're a long way from anything else.
Yeah, right. I mean, then you got to probably run back to the west end of Catalina. It's your next best shot after that, right? Yeah. All right, let's see. Tim P. has a question. Would you keep a 22.5-inch halibut? It's legal, but while on my buddy's boat, he requested that I throw it back, and I did. Would have been my first keeper halibut. Well, Tim P., I'll answer that first. Then I'm even going to go to our studio audience. I would keep a 22.1-inch halibut. I love to eat halibut, and if the thing's legal, what's the big deal? Danny, go ahead. If you want to throw it back, throw it back.
I don't know. I was lucky I got a bigger one, so I didn't have to worry about that. It had a hook in it.
But, I don't think you should make somebody feel bad that keeps a legal halibut.
It's your choice. It really is your choice.
I would definitely keep it. Dan Lightfoot is in the studio audience. Would you keep one?
Oh, hell yeah, I'll keep it.
Somebody told me he was going to say that. Would you keep a legal halibut if you caught it? Michael Limon.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
There you are. There's our studio audience is in agreement. So, Tim, call that guy back and tell him, well, hey, what the heck? And, on the other hand, if you want to throw it back like that guy wanted to throw it back, I'm all for that too. Whatever you want to do, as long as the thing is legal. Tim P. says, let the babies grow. Now I'm getting in trouble. And Dan says, no, I want to eat it.
Phil, on our trip, I was up in the bow, and it's kind of by myself, and I got bit on a halibut before I caught that second one, right? I got bit. And
I saw you.
Right? So I went back, kind of kept it quiet, went back up there, fired out, and I nailed the one. I got bit after that again. But because I was up in the bow by myself, that's when those sea bass went off in the stern. And I'm going, oh, man, that was great. We missed a shot. I think we hogged 5 of those big sea bass and got 1.
Yeah.
But yeah. But what a phenomenal trip. It was the diversity and everything else. The people were great. The food, the crew, everything was awesome.
Yeah, we had such a good time.
Such a great time.
People had such a good time fishing with you and sitting with you in the galley and soaking up your knowledge, Danny. It was great. Fantastic. All right, let's see. No Name Channel. Frying pan is only 14 inches. Hello, Mick Fly. Does mono load up better for surface irons versus braid to short leader, Danny? Does mono load up?
I think it's up. There's old school guys that professors just throw straight mono.
Yeah.
I think it's what your comfort level is. I've seen guys with the mono sling it, but there's a lot of the new day stuff where you throw the braid with a short, not real short, but a short piece of fluorocarbon. And I've seen that work effectively too. I think a lot of it has to do with where you go.
Yeah.
Like when we go down to the rocks and places like that, or down on the ridge where they're less finicky, you can get away with a lot of the shorter top shots. But beware, because that's what kicked me in the behind when we were out at Cortez on the Freedom, because I had all these things with short top shots, and I could make a longer cast with my 9-footer. So I'm way out there. I was past all the all the other guys, but that shorter piece of fluorocarbon going straight to Spectra kept me from bluefin or bluefin. They've got the best eyes in the business, and it wasn't until I lengthened out. I tried my 25, which had a little longer piece of mono in it, but I went to my 30, and thank God, because they were all nicer fish anyway. But, it has to do with, bluefin have great eyes. They got terrific eyes.
Yeah, hold on, Dan. You have a question? I'll come over to you. Go ahead, my friend.
When you cast with that Spectrum, doesn't it burn your thumb if you don't have your tape on your thumb?
Usually not. Usually, I mean, well, I'm going to get it wet before I fire it. And if you're constantly firing, you're fine. I just haven't. I had some set up like that, but when it comes down to throwing the old iron, I do both, but I'll gravitate more toward mono, mono and fluorocarbon if I'm.
Hold on now, Dan. Go ahead.
You've been fishing many years without the without the Spectra. What made you change the Spectra besides capacity of line?
So, here's an old guy that's not going to
Capacity
change.
line and versatility, and not only that, I helped push it when Russ Iser asked me to launch spider wire with him. That became a part of it, and although I wasn't 100% sold on Spectra for all the utilizations, I am now. I mean, I even have straight super fine Spectra on my trout rods and just tip it with fluorocarbon, just use a fluorocarbon leader, and that works unbelievable, so.
Hold on there, Dan.
Yeah, but that line floats when when you cast it out there. That line floats, and you don't know where your bait is until you start winding it in, right?
Well, yeah, no, it depends it depends on the bait you're utilizing, right? So if I'm using it, it's mainly for a split shot situation or something. We're going to have direct fill to a weight, so you can feel everything because you want to be able to drag it, lift it, and then typically like you're saying with the trout, I'll lift it, stop it, and you'll feel a tup, tup, and then I just drop it back to them, and usually they'll pick it up, and then we whack them.
All righty.
But yeah.
Very good. Hey, hit that like button, everybody. We need some more likes. There's a lot of people watching the show. Welcome, everybody. We've been talking about Captain Eddie Leland and getting birthday cards together for him, and we are continuing to do that. If you go on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel and watch the short, his address is there. You can mail him a birthday card. He needs your love and support, and it would be great. Danny's done a card. These guys who are here in the studio audience have done a card. A bunch of other people, the landing office. We're getting lots of cards, but we want to get more and more and more. So thank you so much for doing that. All right, 540 Slinger, that's Jeff Yeomans. He says, whenever it's quiet about Santa Barbara Island, I always assume the fishing is good. That's a pretty good assumption.
That's
Somebody's got a lid on it,
anywhere.
right?
That's true almost anywhere.
Yep.
And that's why having the inside, the more you fish, the more you're going to have some inside, whether it's a crew member or captain or, having the relationship with different people in the fleet, And I'm very blessed that I have my brother still running boats.
Yeah, right.
And get the skinny, not always about down below, but what's going on locally in the 2-day, 3-day range.
I try to stay out of that whole where are you fishing thing because these guys, I don't want somebody up here chasing me around the studio with a gaff.
Yeah.
You gave up our spot, so.
And then it changes. As we know, it changes every day. Especially with this bluefin.
Yeah.
It's been squirrely.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you can meter nice spots, get on a school of smaller ones, and thinking that maybe at night you'll get the big ones, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
And then you'll just get on a spot of fish, a big fish, and, it's just right place at the right time, Fortunately, with the meters, they can judge the size of the fish now, but you can't make them bite. That's always been a problem.
That is for sure. The Mirage today, 31 halibut. Great day up there on the Mirage. I mean, this halibut season has been phenomenal.
I don't think I've seen anything like this, Phil.
Danny, I mean, some guys told me.
I haven't.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
some guy, oh, no, we've seen it this good before. When? I've never seen it.
Let me tell you how good it was. I caught one. They're thick.
You had to do a big flop on deck to do it, though.
Yeah, I did that, yeah. I had to do a halibut reenactment.
Travis Bright says, I'm keeping any halibut over 22 inches. Yay!
You can.
Yeah, that's what I say, man.
You can.
Carlos says, I wouldn't keep it. All right, Carlos. Dan Smith, first butt, 22.5, take it home and eat it, man. So there's a little bit of controversy going on here right now. Brett Enter, who's a super great guy, has a roofing company, and it's going to be called the Pelican Roof Company, I think. And he's going to be focusing on Orange County. We'll be letting you know more about that. He wants to take his little girls out on Sunday. Where would you go around Huntington, Long Beach? Want to get into anything that will bite Also, is squid the best to use? So, Brett, are you talking about a boat or are you talking about surf fishing? Give us the answer to that, and then we'll help you from there.
yeah.
Carlos Mosquera says the corpse. Yes, the corpse was pretty entertaining on our trip, wasn't he, Danny? You
Yeah.
remember? Brandon? In fact, Brandon was kind enough to send us a pizza last week.
Yes.
So,
Awesome, Brandon.
Carlos, we can't make too much fun of him.
Yeah.
You know, once we're off the air, we'll let him have it. But right now, we got to be nice. Hello, McFly. Awesome. I'll stay with the mono. Thanks and God bless. 540 Slinger Jeff Yeomans. Is the rod storage on the Apollo friendly to 10-footers? It is not, right?
Like this, folks.
Yeah.
Because I had some 9-foot rods, and you got to angle them.
Yeah.
And that's true of a lot of the long-range boats, too, where they have the overhang. Usually you have to either put them up on top, up on top deck, or you have to go way up in the bow and either have them stacked up there, or you can get up to where you can put the angle of the rod at that angle, because they're that much longer, And fortunately, a lot of those boats were built in the 70s and 80s, and we were fishing 7-foot rods, guys. So it was different. Yeah.
There you have it. Hello, McFly. I really like braid on my spinning reel. When I fish the surf, I've got braid on there. I like it too. It seems like it casts farther. And it's super good, so I like it too. Yeah, we don't need these old dinosaurs like this Dan Lighthouse.
On my trout, and I'll do the Spectra to fluorocarb. In fact, that's we had the kids trip with the Redondo Club over at Santa Ana River Lakes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was good, and it was that's all you needed. Was braid to a short top shot of fluoro.
And you pulled your usual thing over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was only saltwater where you catch all the fish. You caught all
lucky.
the trout too.
Lucky, yeah.
You're something else.
You're lucky.
Man,
You're
if
lucky,
you were a horse at Los Alamitos Sunday night for Father's Day, my kids and I are going out there, I'd put 20 on your nose. I'm telling you, you are always at the finish line first.
I started with trout, Phil. So it was, I
know those stories about your grandma and everything.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing, is just being able to do the things, little things like once you make your cast, tighten it up, and then every now and then just move it a little bit and just watch it. You'll see it,
All right,
So
Dan.
just little things.
Dan Smith says, Danny, if we get into good albacore cycle, what are you talking about? If they're coming, Dan, will you go back to running a boat or just go out and hang them?
I'm going to go out and hang them. Not too many. Pete and I, Demers, we got cured of that when we came home with my Sequoia full. I said, never again. Never again. And it used to be no limit.
Right.
That was ridiculous. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, should I even say this? I guess I will. I mean, because we were kids. We were on a boat in San Diego. My brother and I rod and reeled a ton of albacore on a 2-day trip. And then we even had the fish market receipt, which is totally illegal. But I think the statute of limitations has run out.
Yeah,
and honestly, we didn't even know it was illegal. We were like, hey, let's sell these things.
Well, there was no limit. There was no limit back in those days.
We were commercial fishing, man.
Yeah.
And I remember those days, man. It's pretty incredible. So Brett is back, and he says he's going on a boat. Thanks, fellas. Dan, you were out on the Monte Carlo. You guys had really good sculpin fishing. Brett wants to know how you caught them.
Well, we caught them all with a white scampi, 8-ounce weight, and a 1/4-ounce lead head. They love that white scampi.
No squid, no bait?
Oh, we had chopped.
Don't be nervous now. Just speak up.
They had chopped sardines. They chopped sardines in half and a chunk of sardine on there.
So he wants to take his daughters out. Would that be a fun trip for them, do you think?
Oh, yeah, it'd be real fun. I took my grandson out and he had a ball. It'd be real fun.
All right, Brett, there you go.
Just be careful of the spines.
Yeah, you know that, Brett, I think.
careful of
But
the
yeah,
spines.
you definitely want to be careful of that. Surf fishing, I haven't had a chance to sample it. I've been so busy. I got to get down there and give it a try. But one of these days, Brett, you come down and we can just do the surf fishing thing. Nobody gets seasick. Everybody has fun. And some days, man, speaking of Eddie Leland, it looked like we had a commercial fishing operation in front of our house in Surfside. He was out there filleting fish where there's 40 yellowfin croaker out there.
awesome.
I was cooking fish tacos. He was filleting out front. We were calling all the neighbors. It was so much fun.
that's awesome.
So sometimes it's really good. Alberto Ponce says, good evening, Albert. Miss you, man. Good to see you here. My friend Jeff Yeoman says, thanks, Phil. And Danny, I'm going to bring my milk crate for long rods. All right, very good. And hit that like button, everybody. We really appreciate so many of you joining Danny on his show tonight. Danny, you made reference a moment ago, and I see we've got guys from Florida and we've got guys from around the country. You said the rocks and the ridge, and I'll bet they have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, Lejos is, it's a very special place.
How
folks.
far is that from San Diego?
I think it's like 480. If
Yeah,
I'm
I think you're
mistaken,
right.
Something like that, right?
480 miles.
But here's the thing, folks. If you were an ancient mariner and you're a couple hundred miles offshore, and this is out of San Diego, 480 out of San Diego, but you're offshore, I forget, 100 and something miles. Forgive me for not having that detail.
Yeah.
But it's out in the middle of nowhere here. 3 rocks appear. And it's absolutely a phenomenal gathering ground for a lot of different fish. And a lot of fish will home guard it, like the yellowtail, but you'll see the yellowfin tuna moving in there, and big, up to bigger ones. Wahoo like it when the water warms up. But here's the only structure out in the middle of the ocean, and it's a hotbed for fish. When it's on, it's some of the best fishing you'll ever see, and it could be tough too. You just don't know. Occasional grouper out there, so there's some great exotics out there too.
The Independence, I don't know where he's fishing. He's down there somewhere like that, but he's put up some photos today of these yellows that are up over 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And these big, giant amberjack, and made the comment that these are the biggest yellows and amberjack we've ever seen.
That's where
Is that where you're going?
I think so.
Maybe.
We were there one year where we came in right behind the XL. And we veered out to the west a little bit and found some yellowfin, bluefin, and we kind of took our time down. But the XL was there at night, and they're all lit up, but nobody was out on deck. So we got there, I think it was about midnight, 12:30 in the morning. And I got all my guys up, put on the mackerel snaggers, and I'm not talking little mackerel. I'm talking about scads. I don't know if you've ever fished them, but they're a chunk of meat, 2-pound scads. And we're fishing them with 10-odd hooks and whatnot. Dropper loop in them, and my first drop never made the bottom, and it was like that all night. And I quit fishing at 12 fish, and I usually don't do that until I get a limit, but I was looking at the average size, and I'm going, oh my God, my processing bill is going to be murder, and I'm giving it away. So, I said, I quit at 12 fish, but they probably averaged in the 30s, and we had a lot of big fish. To the 40s and stuff like that. So
those are amazing fish, right?
Yeah, and they pull. But it's just a different type of yellowtail fishing than fly lining or getting them on the surface iron. That's exciting, but nevertheless, it's still a facet that, for an angler, you need all those experiences to compile up so you can store them in the back of your mind. So, given a different situation, you might use that at the Osborne or some of these other banks where you're offshore, or even Farnsworth. You might implement the Farnsworth stuff though, because you gotta jump on them quick or they'll rock you. But it's the same way down a lot of these places too.
And you're heading down there pretty soon, so man, when you get back, we're gonna have one heck of a show to talk about all of that. That's gonna be great.
Yep.
We got some more questions, and then we'll get in. I know you've got a direction. Sometimes we never get the direction that we want to go because we have
you never know.
steady questions. But what can I say?
We'll roll with whatever you guys want to talk about. Guys.
Hello, McFly is going to share some intel with us all, and I deeply appreciate it because that's pretty close to where I'm at, and I've seen a lot of guys fishing there, so I know what you're talking about. I know why they're walking back there now all the time. Speaking of halibut, he says, the bridge at Seal Beach, San Gabriel River Inlet, plenty of live smelt for bait. Biggest halibut there I've seen. 15-pound, 17-pounders. My son and I caught so many of them there, I think is what he said. So, man, I've been seeing a lot of guys around us where, I'm over there in Surfside right near there.
Yeah.
And they are like cranking the flatties back there, man. What a year for halibut.
Unreal. I don't think I've seen this many ever, Phil, to be honest with you. But I can remember a good friend of mine. He was he's just a great all-around fisherman, but he was a tremendous fly guy, right? And Cecil Gamble's his name. And Cecil had a line class fly record fishing the surf there, and so, you never know what you're going to get, but to get that quality of halibut, and like right now he'd be going nuts because I mean it wasn't an easy thing there to get them, but he would get them, But yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, I can still remember he grew up in Oxnard, and he said, one day I was on the Point Magoo Pier, and I had 19 halibut. And I was just like, wow, I mean, we'll never ever see anything like that. But it's almost crazy like that now,
Oh
It's
yeah,
almost as good as
yeah,
what he was talking about.
absolutely.
And that was his favorite
And that's
thing,
yeah.
halibut, to eat and catch.
We used to go and when we were on the trip and when those halibut bit, Phil, there was one thing missing from my arsenal that I used to have when I was like in high school when we fished. We used to fish and drift the flats down off the bull ring in Tijuana,
Yeah.
right, on the sport boats, and we used to use a treble hook, with a chovy,
Yeah.
and it was and I missed 2 bites, and it went through my head when I missed those 2 bites.
Why wasn't I using a treble hook?
Yeah, where are they? So make sure you have some of those.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Dan Smith says, Danny, when I was a kid, I used to see guys trolling with iron at La Jolla. Was that a thing at the time? Did you ever see that?
I've seen it. That's a lot of drag in the water, but I mean, there's a lot of yellows and everything around that area. It was loaded with fish, So I could see. I mean, I used to go nuts because I went to school right above there, and I could tell you from my one chem class up on Uri Hall.
Oh, you talk about distracting.
Oh, I'm looking down at the cove and I see the qualifier. So the next day I would be on the qualifier with Don Sansom. And I can remember going out there one day with 7 guys on the Q105, folks. So that was
What happened to chemistry class that day?
It suffered a little bit.
You got sick?
It suffered.
Had a headache, huh? Like me right now.
Yeah, that's it.
William Padilla, good evening, fellas. William, it is always so great to see you here. Thank you for joining us. Yellowtail 69 Wasabi, my biggest yellowtail at the rocks. Whoa, 68 pounds on the Royal Star. That's a
bruiser.
That's a magnificent fish.
That's a
I don't
bruiser.
have anything anywhere near that.
Neither
No
do I.
way. I think I might have
a
like
big
high
fish.
30s on the Polaris
Yeah.
Supreme, something like that. That's a great fish, man. Fish on for Ronnie. Hi, guys. Looking to switch out my split rings and stinger hooks on my knife jigs. What sizes and manufacturers do you suggest? I have no idea myself.
I'll tell you that some of the best componentry and strongest split rings you're going to see are made by Spro. And Spro's tied in with Gamakatsu. And I used to rep them. So I used to smoke test all their equipment. And I'm going to tell you, their split rings and the hardware that they make, it's second to none. So, I would go with the Spro split rings. You size it depending on what size hooks you're putting on and everything else. You can scale it down. But as you'll see it in the packaging, it's way stronger for the size,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Aaron says, I think the yellowtail bite is going to be great this year because last year we didn't really fish them all about the bluefin and Dorado. I think so too. I mean, there's a lot of yellows around this year.
A lot of yellows around.
Seen some good
Scattered
hits
all
on
over. Clemente, we saw those spots. They didn't really want to bite at Clemente. I got
Yeah.
lucky and got one off Lineline, but they were breezers up. It was hard to get them to go.
Yeah.
But at Catalina, there were some beauties there.
Yes, definitely.
And they're squid, so guess what? They're not going anywhere.
Right.
They're just going to fatten up a little bit.
I'm thinking Coronado Islands could be good
Oh,
again this
absolutely.
year.
Absolutely.
Clemente, Catalina's showing some
yeah.
life.
I mean, I imagine there's still squid on Cortez and out there, and so you're going to get those home guards there fattened up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Nolan says, Point Magoo Pier used to have tons of short halibut. Maybe my dad was catching all shorts in those days. Who knows? That would have been, God, he would have been like 20. Oh, I don't even want to think
Well, there are
about
a
it.
lot of those breeding, I call them breeding grounds.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a good thing because that's where you replenish the stock, and who knows their I certainly don't know their habits.
Absolutely. All right, Aaron says, do you remember when fishing iron came along and first Taddies and Salas would love to hear more about the true history of surface irons and yo-yos? Do you know anything about that, Danny? I think you do, right?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were blessed to be around a lot of the great guys. The Salases and the Taddy family, Shimizu family. Old Taddy Shimizu would come down here himself, and bring we called them 6-packs. And it's not the 6-packs you can drink, folks. It was even better. 6-pack of jigs. And he would always give us the new colors, and he would listen to our suggestions and make jigs, and that's how, we were doing something. It was when Scott Manson was there, had to do with the Mustang green. That
Right.
It's this green right here, folks. And we were shooting it on a boat, and we had beat up jigs, and we said, well, we'll just shoot it with a paint. And found out that was a hot color.
Wow.
So they brought it into their line.
Hey, now, come on. How many times am I going to have to tell you? You have to be on mic.
So out of the 6-pack, how many worked? How many kicked right?
That's the secret. You'd have to swim each one of them, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I understand that, but-
There's guys that would look at the entry and look at the entry cut and look at it, and some would want pointed ones. Some would look to see if the hole was offset to do the kick. The real test, you got to throw it. You put it in the water. Some had cups, on the flat spot, they would be cupped. You'd have to throw it. So for me, you get a 6-pack, you might get one jig that swims super good out of it, and the rest you would loan out to people.
All right. Michael Limon has a question. How old are you,
Yeah,
Michael,
Mike.
again?
I'm 11.
11-year-old Michael Limon, who's
right.
turned his academic future around because of fishing. His grandpa said, I'm going to break your fingers if you don't get good grades. And that didn't work. So he said, you're not going to go fishing anymore if you don't get good grades.
Well,
and that
that
worked.
worked. That worked.
So Michael went for it. Michael, your question.
Do yellowtail bite on a sexy swim bait hookup baits?
Sexy swim bait?
I've never fished. I'm sure they will eat a hookup bait. I've never fished it, but I'm sure they will.
I asked that question. Somebody told me they had 2 big yellows on hookup. Might have been Eddie Leland. I think it was Eddie.
It's got a nice dart the way it goes
Yeah,
through the
it
water.
was Eddie because I was talking to him. He went with Tom Durr and I and my kids, and we went to Santa Barbara Island. He was catching sheepshead and stuff on the hookup baits, and then he goes, I got 2 of my biggest yellows on hookup baits. So
That's unbelievable.
apparently that does work.
Michael, I got some good news for you. I mean, down the line, what I did was, what I'm going to institute, we didn't have time to do it this year, but I'm starting a fishing club up at the John O'Gain campus in San Pedro High. But there's also something we're going to institute, and they've already got it in play right now at the Port of LA, Port of LA High School in San Pedro here. And what it is in 10th grade, you get into 10th grade, you can start taking these classes. By the time you're in 12th grade, and if you turn 18 at that time, you can go sit for your captain's license. So the only thing you have to do in the interim from now till then is put time on a boat. And every day you go on a half day, that counts as one. And just kind of keep track of it. So by the time you're 18, you could sit, and you could be a senior in high school, you could sit for your captain's license and start being a second ticket on a boat, or you could, you may have enough time on the water, they might turn you loose with a boat, an owner, So that's kind of a neat deal. And I know that our industry is in dire need of that too. Having good second tickets, and the only thing I'm going to tell you is, and it saved me, is you gotta stay straight. I don't allow alcohol or drugs with my captains, and because of that, we had a super grade of guys that we had over the years, But anyway, your high is going to be fishing, right? Not any of that other stuff.
Absolutely. And do well in school, and
That's it.
You'll have it, right, Danny?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. William Padilla, is BKK good? William, I'm a moron. I don't even know what that means. Do you know what that means, Danny?
BKK?
Yeah. Isn't that what it says? What is it?
BKK good.
William, I'm a moron. I'm sorry. You're going to have to spell it out for me.
Yeah, you're going to have to give
Brian
me
Brown.
the big crayon too for that one.
Do you think the Dorado will come later than usual due to weather? Well, first of all, that was an aberration last year anyway. We'd never seen anything like that, Brian. It was totally incredible. However, we do have this El Nino forecast to
That's
show up
down
late
below.
summer.
Yeah, it could be time of year. It could be in the fall.
Yeah. What do you think? Is that, I think
Oh, yeah. Of course.
with
it's
that warm
possible.
water,
yeah,
all
that's what
those
that's what you're saying. Yeah.
tropical, subtropical
Yeah.
species are
I
going to
want to
swim
catch
up
that
here.
stuff in the interim,
Yeah, right.
The stuff that's mixed. Yeah.
Albacore.
Yeah. people come out of the woodwork. Trust
Tommy
me.
says there's 2 jig boats out there working outside Cortez.
They're not out there for their health
No, I
because
think
you're out extended too far and there's nothing else that, they have to have good intel, hopefully. They don't have to give any of the numbers, but yeah, I hope you guys are killing them.
Joe says, hey guys, Joe, hey, it's good to see you here, my friend. Always great to see you. Thank you for your great support for Friedman Adventures and the Danny Kadota Show. Dan Smith, I'll take a 6-pack of jigs over beer any day. But coffee, I don't know. Yeah, I love my coffee too. I'm with you. Aaron says, that's right, beautiful answer. I love it. It takes 6-pack to another level. Definitely need more iron stories.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. All right, and then Dan Smith, Kim got a few big yellows on mint hookup bait. So there you go.
There you go.
Kim is an extraordinary fisherman. She's also a carnivore. Her and I both are kind of doing the carnivore thing. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, exactly. And now I got you doing it. Dan Lighthouse is doing keto. So
Awesome.
we'll all drop dead together at the same time. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm fighting this cold. Hello, McFly. Young's Tackle. Excuse me. Young's Tackle remade the old Starman irons for $13. They're in Bellflower now. So you can go buy Young's Tackle and get
So
the
you
old
guys know-
Starman's irons.
You know what the Starmans are?
Go ahead. Let's hear
they're
it.
They're called candy bars, folks. That's what we called them growing up, and that's what they are.
And they were very good jigs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I'm curious to see, is it polished or is it got the rough finish? You can call that in later or whatever, but yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, let us know. The hookup brand, William Padilla is talking about. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think I'm not positive about that particular, but I know they work really, really well. They are used in Nomad also. Gregory Wilson, BBX brand of hooks. Okay. Joe says, Phil, as you know, we will be coming down at the end of the month. I would like to target rockfish the first day and hit the patties for yellowtail. Any pointers help. So you're going to be fishing out of Pedro? What would you say for rockfish, Danny?
I mean, in his private boat?
Yes.
Oh, I have to tell you, Phil, I'm terrible at that. We need to talk to some of the half-day and three-quarter-day guys.
Well, these guys
that
are
have
just
the
out
local
there
stones.
catching sculpin.
Yeah, because
Joe?
I did all my business from Catalina out,
Yeah, you
the
did.
outer islands, yeah.
I can tell you that I did a little bit of fishing off the west end of Catalina on a place called Freedom Rock.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's accessible now because it's deep water, and there's some extraordinarily good fishing out there. Some of those spots are pretty tiny, though.
They used to get cows out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Full
yeah, big
speed.
cows, yeah.
Yeah. Full speed. But there's some good fishing out that way. And, in terms of kelp patty fishing, Joe, I mean, for us to answer that question today and you're coming down at the end of the month, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It makes
There's
no
going to
sense
be a
at
lot
all.
of. It's going to change from week to week. It's going to be changing. I mean, you look at the tuna bite; it changes every day. The hot area.
Yeah.
Yesterday's hot spot is today's, desert. So you just have to be at the right place at the right time. Your meter marks, and you got to find one that bites, and then you're in them. But I mean, it's tough. I had an old friend. I thought he was very facetious when he said that, but he says, I'd ask him, "Hey, where are they?" He goes, "They are where you find them."
That's right.
And
That's absolutely
as
true.
facetious as it was, he's true. It's true.
Almost 70 people watching right now. The crowd is building. We
Awesome.
need you to hit that like button, please. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mike Trunk says he's watching from Fiji. I don't know.
Fiji.
Mike, you're from, is this for real? I think, are you the one who's last week he was in PP Island, which is right next to Poo Poo Island, in case you didn't know. He's all over the place. Mike, are you really in
Is he
Fiji?
fishing with Jody? Isn't Jody out there? He's out
Yeah,
there.
maybe. I don't know. Mike, what are you doing? Dan Smith, Phil, I would love to be out on a jig boat in the box pulling albacore with you. Man, I'd love to be with you too, Dan. I bet Danny Kadota would like that too. Put fish away all night. Well, it's nice to be home watching this tonight. Yeah, it's great to have you with us for
Absolutely.
sure. And Joe says, right, yeah, because, some people will ask me, like, hey, we have a charter next month. What are we going to be fishing for? And I try to just politely say, I have no idea. I mean, nobody has any idea.
Nope, we don't have a crystal ball.
Right. In
We
fact,
take what Mother Nature gives us.
Danny, you're an operator for many years, one of the best in this game. How many times did you make a decision on where you were going to go on the way out when you were getting intel and you changed your course
You
and you
had to,
changed your whole
because
game
it's
plan?
the latest deal, and that's what the radio was a huge deal for us back in there, to stay on it, because it changes. Because a lot of times, sometimes if a guy had a 2-day trip, a lot of that stuff didn't pop until the late afternoon, and we were already on our way home. But it brings about a new area. If you got a 2-day trip, that's what you want to shoot for. So it really depends, but it has to do with the intel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Joe's got a great question, and you're going to have to take off on this now, Danny. Over the years, when you were cabining, have you had any celebrities on board, or would they just charter the whole boat? Who was your inspiration to become a captain and boat owner, your biggest influence? So let's take the celebrity first part of it. You have any celebrities out with you?
God, he was on Hill Street Blues. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but we've had a few. But, I was down at Islandia. I had the lease on Islandia in 84, 85, and 86, right? Well, it just so happens that I had the fortune there myself, and then we just brought in the Pursuit. And guess what they were filming at that time?
What's that?
They were filming the original Top Gun.
Oh, no way.
And Tom Cruise went on the Pursuit, because the Fortune and I were chartered, went on the Pursuit, and he must be a fisherman. He made those guys go in and get bait, and they fished out La Jolla. So
Get out of here. You mean this Pursuit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that scene where Goose dies and he hits the water?
Yeah.
That's all filmed at Point Loma.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember when the boats were out there filming, we had to go give them a wide berth. I hated it, because we had to swing way out to the west and then come back into Islandia. But, and then you see all the other signs, the other scenes in Top Gun. You have a lot of it down Rosecrans and through that whole area. So it was that year. I think it was 84.
Man, talk about a trivia question.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tom
It's amazing,
Cruise
yeah.
fishing on the Pursuit.
Yeah. And he made the guy go get bait. I think it was
Wow.
Kevin Shelley had the boat that was running the boat at the time.
That is amazing. So, Joe, the second part of this question, who was your inspiration to make you want to become a captain? Like I can say, this kid sitting next to me, you're his inspiration to become a captain.
Well,
Who was your inspiration?
Oh my God, there's a ton of guys, but Taka was my mentor.
Yeah.
And he was
Taka Tanaka.
Taka Tanaka, absolutely. You couldn't have had a better mentor, better human being. There's stuff I could tell you. He had everything dialed in, and we did everything the right way, and he was strict about certain things, but that's what perpetuated itself, the way the crew members that we had that followed, it's endless. I just met with one of the guys today, Mike Redlew, ran the boat for a long
Mike's a
time.
great guy.
Big Mike Frank, but then, Brian Kiohara started when he was 14 as a pinhead on the Mustang, and look at him, he's one of the kings.
Absolutely.
And then you got, we had Marty Tanaka, Steve Tanaka, my brother, and these guys all, Marty didn't, but Steve ran boats for a long time. And my brother's still running boats. I think he's on his 10th issue of his Coast Guard license.
Wow.
So, we were blessed. There are a lot of great guys that came out of that.
Acme says, Danny, just got back from Lake Martinez, caught a 6-pounder on a frog for you, buddy.
That's a beautiful fish down there. We used to go down, Taka and I would go down with Tom Canada and Wayne Canada. He owned Wayne's Tackle. And we would sleep during the day when it was hot and just fish at night, night fish with, plastic worm in it. And what a blast. We used to have a blast down there.
Steve Bermudez is watching from the exotic palm tree waving in the wind in East Los Angeles. Love it, Steve. Mike Trunk says he's on his way home from Fiji to get on the Shogun tomorrow. He'll give us an on-the-water report. Mike, I'll be looking forward to that, man. I can't wait to hear it and hope you have a great trip. Jay says, hello, Phil. Sorry I missed you when I was down last month. I spent 5.5 days with the crew on the Pride and came home with lots of tasty fish. Caught 7 white sea bass on my trips. Hope you found all the close. Jay, I forget, Jay, you're in Montana or somewhere up in that neck of the woods? And this is a guy, he goes on the Pride, loves fishing with the Pride. I don't blame him. Those guys are
Yeah.
insane
Yeah, yeah,
fishermen,
yeah.
hard fishermen on the Pride. I see a bunch of guys getting on there right now, and they're getting ready to leave. But this guy goes to the trouble with his kids to pack up a bunch of clothing for the poor in Mexico, fly it down here, maybe pay the extra fee to do it.
That
I
is
mean,
so
Jay,
awesome.
you are an awesome
What an
human
awesome
being.
person, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hats off to you.
And I'm so happy you nailed the sea bass. That is really, really
Absolutely.
good. Aaron says, longest winter ever feels like spring never came. I know what he means. But yes, bite is going to be crazy once the sun comes out. Going to be hot with warm waters. I'm telling you, Aaron, you are right on as far as I'm
I
concerned.
think
Danny,
it's
do
gonna
you
happen.
agree?
I agree.
It's going to bite
And
right
like
through
I'm saying-
January 1st.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe, who knows? Who knows how long it's going to
And it hasn't been that. I mean, we're talking about like, I think the bar is so high now that we're disappointed when we're not catching limits of bluefin every day.
Yeah, we want albies, we want yellowfin, we want dorado, we want it all.
But we've
And
had.
next thing was like, and we did have it a few years ago because that one day we were in a small part of a boat and we were with Junior, one of my old captains, and we had and Jeff, to go to my other fishing bar, actually my roommate on the angler, and we got 5 wahoo and dumped a couple right at the rigs. So people, you never know what's going to happen. You just never know what's going to happen.
That is absolutely right. Aaron, you're so right, though. It does feel like it's still wintertime right now, but I agree with you. It's going to be good. Dan Smith says, I remember I landed at Sportfishing. He remembers Islandia is what he's saying. I do, too. I fished out of there a lot. Local fishing, it was in the day, right?
You know what the beauty of it was when we had that lease? Okay, this was absolutely beauty. In 84 and 85, the chovy population was down, so the boats were getting rationed at H&M. I mean, at Point Loma site, right? And with all the Seaforth boats, the Seaforth boats were all half day and 3/4 day. They didn't have any overnight boats, so it was just my Fortune and the Mustang. And I built 100 scoop tanks for each one of them, so we would tank up 100 scoops every night. And we'd have to, a lot of times, go outside, and my code boat was George Mayo, the new hustler. A lot of times I'd pass some bait once we got outside, and my brother, the Cherokee Geisha. And so it was a blessing, but it's hard to believe now, but we were the only overnight boats out of those 2 landings. But it was a blessing for us, and that was record Albacore year in '84, and '85 was just as good. It was
And it's going to be a good one this year,
Yeah.
too. You mentioned the Cherokee Geisha, and man, it's a kind of sad feeling for me because Butch, I fished with him a lot, and he passed away in a horrible accident.
Oh, yeah, he got
somewhere in
crushed.
the Gulf. He got
Yeah,
crushed
he got
between the
crushed
boat
between
and
the boats. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was a fun guy. Very nice
Butch
man.
was a very nice
guy. I enjoyed fishing with him also. All right, back to Jay, who said he also left medical supplies here. Much love to those in need. And Jay, I should tell you that I became friends with the former mayor of Tecate, Baja California, and his lovely wife, Claudia, Cesar and Claudia. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I've got a bunch of medical supplies, your stuff, Jay, and we've got all kinds of other stuff. Is there a Red Cross? And she said, oh my God, we are in such dire need for that stuff. So I was going to do it on Father's Day, but unfortunately my kids are busy during the day. But real soon we're going to move all this stuff down there, Danny. You're always about this. You're a good Christian guy who believes in this kind of stuff. So
Absolutely, that's awesome.
guys like
That's
Jay,
tremendous.
and as
Absolutely.
I say all the time, I get to be Santa Claus. I mean, these guys are doing all the work. The people who are donating, I get to go hand it out, and it's fun. There's no question about it. So, Jay, thank you so very much. Jaime Fernandez Jr. heading out this Sunday on the new low end for 2 days. Happy Father's Day to all. Jamie, I'm wishing you the very best of luck. Can't thank you enough for checking in here with us tonight. Danny, what do you think? He's going to get him, man. 2 days.
Luann was always one of my favorite boats.
Yeah.
It's low in the water. It's a cruise-on hull, but it always got bit really well. Didn't matter whether it was Dick Gadosh, Don Sansom, you name it. Danny Sansom, just that boat fishes exceptional.
Yeah. And same thing now. I mean, because I'm watching these counts every single day. So I see, I hate to say it, there are some guys who always get them. He's one of them.
Oh, yeah.
They miss once in a while, but day in and day out, he's one of those guys. New Loan, right up at the top.
It's been
Pacific
fishing,
Queen,
it's been
right up
fishing
at the
like
top.
that all these years.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Yes, sir.
What?
Oh, wait a minute, Dan Lightfoot. Let me tell you, we have a studio audience tonight. This is Dan Lightfoot.
Okay, Danny. What about the drifting when you get bit? The boat drifts forward, sideways, backways.
Every boat has a different idiosyncrasy. You know, you find like my Mustang, there's no kill. So you get the Drake crafts, you know, like the Toronado and all these, the Drakes will, because there's no kill, they'll slide. So when you go into a slide, it drifts. And so, you know, when your downwind corner is where you put the bait. There's a lot of the bigger boats that will literally back up. You ever been on a boat where you throw it out on the corner and all of a sudden it's halfway in the stern and it's going under the boat? Probably one of the bigger boats, you know, the way their keel is and everything else, the way they drift patterns, it's different, you know. But when you get a boat that, like the Mustang, walks, and you're going to find a lot of boats, it's understanding, for all you people, understanding that idiosyncrasy with each boat is different. So what you want to do, talk to the crew. Ask them, where do you cast? Because a lot of times, like I know it on certain boats, the premium area, normally instead of the downwind corner to make your cast, because if you make your cast there, it ends up right about, you know, the middle of the boat when you're going across the stern. So a lot of those, the best shot is throwing straight off the middle of the stern, and it gets outside the corner, and then it usually gets hammered.
What about fishing the bow on the drift?
That's also a great place for those boats that drift backwards like that, because what happens? The bait gets thrown in on the spot. You know what the bait does? It travels under the boat, goes up, follows the keel, and comes off. A lot of times you go up to the bow and you'll see these flashes doing this. And usually, if you see me going up there, I've seen boils. And it's knowing all these little idiosyncrasies with the boat. So it's knowing the boats that you're fishing on. And you might ask the crew. The crew will tell you. I'm sure they'll be very accommodating and let you know, because every boat has a different way it drifts depending on the manufacturer. The Ditmar Donaldsons, the Bill Poole aluminum boats, we all fish a little bit differently. But when you know that boat and the hot spots, where to fish, it's going to help you out.
And it can be something, I remember Bob Gifford walked up to you, caught a yellowtail on the Apollo, and he said, Danny, why you're always getting bit, and I'm trying to watch you and figure it out. Well, what was it? And you said, Bob, I was watching the birds. They were dipping and dipping. So it's like that, paying attention to that, right?
That's a habit. You know, I mean, it's a habit for any type of fishing, whether you're fly fishing, you know, watching the hatch. And I got a funny story for you that I can tie into this right now. We were on Crawley one day, and I set up on it with 2 anchors, so we locked down a spot in a fishing structure, whether it's like at the entrance to McGee. I'll straddle the channel, the river channel, because it's a highway for the fish, right? But I'm watching these fly guys taking anchors, throwing them in the air, splash, big splash, and then wind them back. And they'll wind the anchor in. You know what he's doing?
What's that?
He's chumming.
Oh, wow.
He's stirring up all the midges down below.
Makes sense.
So I'm sitting there going, what an idiot. Well, he's chumming, you know, and it's legal to do. So when you're putting on a dropper, a two fly dropper loop on a fly, all those midges that he's dragging the anchor across the bottom, all these midges are getting stirred up. Well, all of a sudden you watch those fly rods go doink, doink, fighting fish. So there's method to the madness, folks.
All right, great stuff. 73 people watching right now. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We deeply appreciate you being here with the Danny Kadota Show this evening. Tomorrow morning, early, the morning break. Oh, I don't know how early because I feel sick, but hopefully it'll be early. Right, Michael? Michael's shaking his head, yes, as he eats another piece of raw sculpin. Very impressed with him tonight. Let's see. Jay says, he doesn't fly from Montana. He drives the 1,600 miles. He brings a full truck of clothes for the poor in Mexico, and then he goes back with a full truck of white sea bass and everything
there you
else.
Go. It's a good you know, you're rewarded because you're such a nice guy.
That is.
I mean, that's awesome what you're doing. My hat's off to you.
So Nolan wants to know, and Nolan, welcome to the show, my friend. What are some of the essential tackle that I need to bring on a half-day fishing trip? What would you say, Danny?
I would say bring light, for the most part, lighter gear, unless you know there's some game fish like yellowtail around. Then you probably want to have a 20 or 25 pound stick. you know. But on a lot of the half-day stuff, fishing the lighter tackle, like heavy freshwater gear, would probably be suited more. Fishing 12-pound line, you'll get a lot more bites, especially if you're fishing chovies and stuff, stuff like that, or even pieces of squid, with a little split shot or something. It's going to be very effective. But it depends what you're targeting. And just listen to the skippers. They're going to tell you. They know what they're fishing. So
Yes.
pay attention to them.
Oh. Dan is pointing at something on the board, but he's not saying anything. Oh, wait.
It said, did I go to Sierra High School? Yes, I did go to Sierra High School.
All right. Very good. What? Oh, yeah. All right.
Sierra.
Did you
Is that
go?
in Whittier?
I don't know.
What am I
Sarah
thinking?
High School, maybe, or Sierra High School. I'm not even sure. I don't even know what these. Dan, you're starting to distract me. I'm going to throw you out of here.
Sierra High School.
Oh, Sierra High School. I'm sorry.
Whittier. Yeah, my college roommate went there.
All right, just kidding. Dave Clark, Danny, didn't the legend run out of Seaforth for a few years in the 80s? I think Sean Trowbridge ran it out of there, right?
He did. And that's when they started fishing. Well, they started fishing overnights more about that time, too. They started bringing in boats that could handle the overnight runs.
All right, now I know what you're talking about because I wasn't looking at it. Joe says, Danny, did you go to Sierra High School?
Oh, did I? No,
Yeah.
I went to Dorsey.
Dorsey.
Yeah,
All right.
I went to Dorsey. I was in
Was
the-
Sierra High, where's Sierra High School?
Whittier.
Oh, it is. Okay. I know Sarah High School is a
Was it on
Catholic
Carmenita or
school.
something like that? Was it over there? Right on Carmenita?
Media and Telegraph.
There you go.
Danny,
DMV right across the street.
Danny, I don't know if we're going to have to end the show early tonight because you want to run and watch the Dodger game tonight. I'm not sure about that.
Go Angels. I'm not into the wokeness, folks.
I'm really angry with the Dodgers right now, too,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
With that whole Sisters of the... I'm not going any further. Joe says Lightfoot. Okay. Gregory Wilson.
That's me.
Oh, Lightfoot.
About the high school.
Oh, okay, very good. Gregory Wilson. I fished the Cherokee Geisha in the mid-'90s, one of my first tuna trips. Boy, was I green at tuna fishing. I learned by watching the guys that were hooking up all the time. That's one of the best ways to learn, Gregory, right, Danny?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that boat, I fished a lot on it because I would deadhead on it, help out, because especially when my brother, well, we bought the boat in 1983 up in Brisbane, up in Frisco, and it was in mothballs. That used to be the old Chabasco that Lee Palm had. He
Yeah.
had that and the Red Rooster.
Right.
But it was sitting in mothballs up in Brisbane. We picked it up in El Nino in '83, and my brother and Brian Kiyohara and a bunch of their crew went up. I think Tom Motto. There's a whole bunch of the guys. It'll come back to me later, but they brought it down. In fact, I had to bring up a spare generator. Met them in Morro Bay because they barely got it down. They had all three V12s needed work. The 371, the 271, both generators needed work, so we had a portable Honda on the boat. He got it into Wilmington here, and that crew, hats off to all those guys, Brian, these guys, they got that thing running by '84, and we had record albacore year coming off El Nino, and it pretty much paid for itself that year. It was unbelievable, yeah.
You are watching the Danny Kadota Show. Absolutely fantastic decades of knowledge being shared with you, Danny. We love you, and it's such a very special show again tonight. Raymond says, I love throwing the iron when they're chumming in the circle from the bow. I do too, man. You can hang some nice fish by doing that.
Yeah, yep.
That's a great tip for everybody. Thank you. Omar said, skunked in Lake Isabella today, but glad I caught this live today. Salute to you fine men. Omar, thank you so much. That means a lot. Sorry you got skunked there, but thanks for
Omar,
joining
don't
us.
feel bad. There was a time when Isabella was kicking out some of those big Florida largemouth, and so I would go up there for several days, and I never did get one over 10. Never got one over 10 there. So, it could be tough. I think if you're doing, it's time and, your time on the water and spending it. And I read all the tote maps, and I figured, that Rocky Point, there's a few places that it would hold fish, but I figured wrong, just like any kind of fishing, And so I consequently came back and concentrated more on Casitas, Castaic, Vale, but lakes that I fished and knew very well. So, yeah.
Omar, thank you again for joining us. Appreciate it. Next time will be much better, I guarantee it. By the way, the San Diego today, well, on a full day trip out of C4 Sport Fishing in San Diego. Last time I looked, he had 16 bluefin tuna, so he had a nice hit on the
Wow.
BFT. Nothing wrong with that. Is
Wow.
hopefully that full day fishing is going to kick into gear. The Liberty we mentioned had a yellowtail, and I think he had I forget how many bluefin he had today, but he had a shot of bluefin also. So full day trips are starting to go. One yellowfin, and he had some bluefin also. So that's starting to head in the right direction. All right, Dan Smith is pleading with you all. Hit that like button. Push it over 40, everybody. 81 people watching right now. Big show tonight, Danny. Good stuff. All right. Andres is going out on the Pegasus on a 2-day tomorrow morning. Hopefully the bite holds. Hey, Andres, will you do me a favor? Say hi to Jacob. Say hi to all the guys on the Pegasus. They are fantastic. That boat gets bit. They work so hard. We communicate a lot. I love the Pegasus. I used to fish it with Joe Chade a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, did you remember when Joe was running it?
Well, yeah, I remember that. That's the sister ship to the Fortune.
Oh, okay.
They were both built by Kelly up there up in Washington, And it started that whole, we called it the fiberglass deal, where the fiber flies. But I mean, it's efficient. It's a fast boat, and the way they outfitted them and stuff. They did a great job with them. Yeah.
Joe Sirwall, Crowley Punk Perch kills it in the fall. Go every year with a group of guys. We've been friends since kindergarten, 50 plus years. I got a few friends like that too. Like, man, it's hard to believe, but been friends for almost 60 years.
Yep.
When
Yep.
that's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is.
Do you have some? Yeah, I'm sure you
Oh,
do,
I do,
right?
yes, sure.
Yeah, crazy stuff. All right, Joe says, yes, Vinny's Adventure. Hey, guys, hope you're doing well. Phil, when is your next charter plan? Let me think about that. I believe it's August the 15th. It's a 1.5-day trip on board the Horizon out of H&M Landing, and you have to book with them on that trip. So, Vinny, that you book with H&M Landing, Horizon, a 1.5-day trip leaving August the 15th. That will be our next one. And then September 8th, we're on the Apollo out of C4 Sport Fishing. And then we finish up with two-day trips on board the Amigo here at 22nd Street. I planned those trips late this year, Danny, pretty much. Had some early ones, but I'm feeling really good about this late bite this year. I'm thinking it's going to be good. Vinny, I hope you can join us. Joe says Dan Lightfoot. Yeah, we're going to throw him out of here. Don't worry, Joe. We'll get rid of him for you. I think that's what you mean. Wow, what great stories and info on here. Really cool, says Hello McFly. I think Hello McFly is a brand new guy to the channel tonight. And, man, we sure appreciate you being here. Joe Russo. Phil, I'm leaving for Ensenada tomorrow morning early, 5 o'clock in the morning. I've got an empty passenger seat. Oh, my God, would I love to go, Joe, but I've got so much to do, and I've got my kids to spend some time with on Father's Day. I would love to join you. Pete is away fishing. Great show tonight. Joe Russo, you know Joe. He's a fantastic
Joe
guy.
and I and Pete fished a lot together back in the day, and Joe has got this thing just rocking. We saw it. It's the T-bar that fits into the rod holders
Yes.
on small boats, and it's going to kill. It hasn't even impacted the East Coast yet. Wait till they figure that out.
Yeah,
But where's it started? Right here.
yeah.
Our guys are the innovators for all that.
Might be
I can
time to
remember
do
when-
another video, Joe. We did a few of those, and they got tremendous
Good
views,
time,
thousands.
Joe. They're starting to chew, so.
Raymond says, I was on a 1.5-day trip on the Freedom. Got one stop. Fish came up boiling in the dark, but no hookups. I know. So you've had like the last trip on the Freedom, I think they got one fish, a 120-pounder, and they were telling me that it was Trevor Downing told me, man, the sun went down. We saw so much fish. And then that was it. They were gone. I mean, it just drives you nuts, these bluefin tuna. But here recently, Danny, the Apollo had 34 bluefin tuna
And
to
beauties,
230
too.
pounds.
Beauties, yeah.
And the Freedom had 24, and then they had some down trips. So, man, it's up and down. Raymond, thanks for sharing that with us.
They're bluefin.
He said it was a good 30-second show. I'm
Yeah.
sure it was, man. Gary Norby was a fishy guy on Albacore. He sure was, right? Did you know Gary?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I can remember when he first brought the outer limits down. he pulled in right next to me at Portugal or Norm's Landing, and I looked at it. But it was funny because it was one of the first boats that came down from Washington, super fast, still is, you know. In fact, my brother's still on it. He's on it, you know, since Paul bought it, and Kenny Frankie had it. But I remember going through the engine room and things like that, and definitely tell that a lot of things had to get reworked because they did stuff that I looked at. I go, you got to be kidding me. They had the receptacles for the heads sitting right over the main engines. So if anything blew out on the Pedros or anything, you definitely would have sucked some bad stuff into that engine.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, but I mean, in time they've got it tweaked, and that boat is still one of the fastest down there, and
Yeah.
very efficient. Just
Absolutely.
great operation with Paul at the wheel.
Joe says, any update on the boat that went down? So that was the CJ. It struck Santa Cruz Island at Prisoners Harbor. The Seabiscuit was the first boat on scene, offloaded the passengers and crew. Everybody was safe, transferred them over onto a Coast Guard cutter. The boat sank at Prisoners Harbor. In terms of why it happened, how it happened, we have no idea at this point in time. Investigation is underway, but the most important part of that story, Danny, is everybody is okay. Jagger, something I have always wondered, how much do the sport boats cost? Are they like 250 grand, $1 million?
They were about that when I was running boats, but I mean, some of the units now, I mean, some of these, we call them the Cadillacs.
Yeah.
They definitely run up there. They get up. The price of boats went up too.
Hello,
Yeah, it's gotta be up
McFly.
there.
Hello, McFly says he's a newbie to the show, so you're one of the most important people to us. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And don't miss the morning briefing tomorrow morning. And, of course, Danny's going to have some great stuff. You're going to do some video work on the American Angler also,
I'm
right?
going to try, but you know what's bad with me, Phil? I bought the first GoPros.
Yeah.
I had this, I had that. I'm thinking, oh, great, I'm all teched out. And I get out there, and I put it on my head and stuff, and I hit the wrong button, so it's giving, like, intermittent shots. And I'm thinking, I got this footage, I've got bit, and the blind's peeling off, and I'm going, all the way till the gaff, and I get home, it's all clip here, I go, doggone it, So, my kids tell me I really need to stay away from the phones and cameras and stuff like that. That's for the young kids. I got to tell you, I'm old school. That's why most of the stuff that we did, we filmed with TV shows. They actually had the big cameras and walked around.
Yeah, well, heck,
That's why I need that again.
you just got to get somebody to film you. That's it.
Yeah.
Aaron says, do you need a passport for the Horizon trip? I would say it's up in the air right now. I would probably say no, because I'm more than positive that August 15th will be offshore, and you don't need it when you're offshore.
Yeah.
But you never know, okay? So I would say more than likely no, like 95% no. Joe Russo, Danny is the genius who showed Pete Demers and I how to fish the slide with plastics and nail the yellowfin. We would have our limits while others will still trying to figure out what we were doing. So what Joe's talking about, and I'm guessing, right?
Fish traps.
You don't even have to mess with the bait.
No.
You're in the
Well,
water
it's quick.
like right now.
It's quick.
Yeah.
And it's a reaction type deal. And on certain fish, especially with yellowfin, they're not as finicky as bluefin. They'll eat anything in the water. Albacore get that way too. So, yeah. Same thing. It's funny because I put a bunch of plastics in my box for this trip just in case something comes in from the west.
I know what you're talking about. Joe says, thank God. And Jagger says, the Pride had a spot come open earlier this week, so I jumped on the 1.5 day, leaving the 30th, stoked to try to get my first white sea bass. Jagger, we are wishing you all the very best, and I'll tell you right now, those guys on the Pride, man, if they're on it, man. Sean is one hard fisherman. He works hard, right? You've been out with him.
Yeah, your odds are great. Yeah, well, the first cast ever on that boat, I caught a bluefin.
Yeah, I know.
My first cast, so doesn't get any better than that, folks.
I'll tell you, man, that's good stuff. Joe Russo asked Danny about the hand line setup he made while we were on a 5-day trip on the American Angler with Sammy and Brian. He demolished the albies by hand. I want to hear that story.
That was an old Buddha head trick. They used to have it's like the boat line material, the parachute cord, and they keep keep one in the fish came to the boat. I mean, back then there was no limit on albacore, so these guys would just big hook, put it on the chovy, throw it on, sack it. I mean, it was all about the meat back in those days. You know, when
know,
you got
yeah.
those stops like that.
I was there too. Yeah,
Well,
did.
yeah.
Dan Lighthouse is saying the same thing.
And the other thing was, then after it got so good, we finally said, I talked to Brian, I said, just pull everybody out of the water. Get everybody out of the water. And what they did, well, I thought was the coolest thing, because we were already limited. We put the tuna, they had 2 tuna pads. So we had one guy on board with the tuna pad. They brought out a lift pole. So each person got to get back there and hook and catch a fish on a lift pole. Now I got to tell you, man and fish, one-on-one like that, that's the ultimate.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to tell you,
Primal.
that particular deal made everybody's trip. You know, it was just unbelievable. I have pictures of it. I have pictures of that, but it's pretty cool. Most of the guys have never had that experience, but I'm going to tell you, it made the trip right there for every one of those guys. You know.
Yeah, because
So it
it's
was
so
cool.
primal, right?
Yeah, and then we just quit. We left them. I mean, we could have got hundreds of fish more out of it if we wanted, but we just left them, which was perfect. You know.
And you can remember as well as I when you're pulling a boat line, you get the jig strike and you're pulling the boat line and it's not bit, and then it gets bit while you're pulling it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, right?
Yep.
That's
Nothing
the
like
best
it.
feeling in
It's
the
awesome.
world.
Absolutely.
Joe says, Dan Lightfoot, we went to school together. Do you know this Joe guy, Dan?
I don't remember.
He doesn't remember Joe, but Joe, let me recommend intense therapy to probably get over going to school with Dan Lighthouse.
Shock therapy, maybe.
Maybe shock therapy,
There you
even
go.
like Danny said. Yeah, that might be a good idea. Dan Smith, I always put out boat lines, even today. I got yellows, bonita, all kinds of fish trolling around with the boat lines. Not a bad idea, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Raymond says, where's the Matt Walsh right now? I can answer that question. It is up there at Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. It is called the Californian, and it runs up there. Tucker McCombs bought it, and the boat is absolutely beautiful. He's put a lot of hard work into it. She's a beautiful platform. The Californian up there out of Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing, 805-676-3474. In fact, if you have any kids or grandkids, kids that are 12 years and younger, fish for free on Sundays on the California, which is the Matt Walsh. So there you are. Abraham. Hey, Abraham, it's good to see you, my friend. Abraham was so kind to invite me to go down to Mexico with him, but unfortunately my schedule's out of control. Great show, guys. Thanks, Danny and Phil. Makes my commute so much easier listening to you guys. So that's great.
good.
Guys that are
Good
driving
deal.
home, and Abraham, we really
Get your
appreciate
fishing
that.
intel in. Well, you know.
Exactly. Hit that like button, everybody. We are up past 41. I'm almost looking for an excuse to end the show early because I'm sick.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
nobody's going to let us do that, and I'm good because I'm having so much fun. I love listening to Danny as much as all of you. And Dan Lighthouse, or Lightfoot, whatever it is, Lighthouse. Well, it's nautical if I call you Lighthouse. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will run over there. But just don't blurt out the question because nobody can hear you. All right, Joe Russo says, Danny was always my guru and mentor as a young deckhand. To this day, my favorite guy to fish with. Great show tonight, Goomba and Phillip. Thank you for all your support with the pipe. Joe, you deserve it. I love you, Joe.
Great
You are
innovation.
and he's a special guy.
And Joe should kill him, not just regionally, but nationally with that. I mean, that belongs in those Miami boats and boats on the East Coast that are fishing the tuna.
Yeah.
You know, gives them an opportunity to do that. You know, with that pipe, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Omar says, hey, Danny, what is the most memorable or remarkable fishing experience you've had throughout your career?
Oh man.
Name a couple,
That one's
maybe.
tough. I think really fishing down in Brazil for peacocks.
Yeah? Oh,
And
so,
we fished at a camp that was never fished before.
yeah.
And we literally, I can't remember how many peacocks over 10 I caught the first day. But, you know, it's like any water, and this happens on any lake, is once it's pressured and the fish are caught, it's going to get tougher and tougher. But you go into an area that's not tapped, it was ridiculous. We were fishing 80-pound. These things are, you know, they're unbelievable. The blow-ups are your heart stops. It's probably the most exciting fish that you'll ever catch.
You
It's
were
beauty and it's yeah.
you were telling me the other day, and I concurred with you 100% that you almost enjoy going to a different country and fishing more than you do on a sport boat, just because you get
new
the culture,
experience.
the people.
And you learn. All the different fishing techniques. You learn by that experience. I'll give you another example. Is when we went down to Guyana to go fish these big arapaima. Steve, you told me, says, "Hey, Danny, bring a fly rod." And I'm going, "Are you nuts? You're talking about 200 to 300 pound fish or more, right?" And I go, "Bring a fly rod down." Well, guess what? He was right. Pete and I were throwing conventional big lures, but the sound when it hit the water, if you didn't hook that fish and make a perfect cast, after about 3, 4 casts, those fish would sink out. They're air breathers. They would sink out and they wouldn't come up for another half an hour.
Yeah.
So he was right, because I could pick up a fly, fish maybe a 14 weight or so, throw it, it doesn't make any, there's no splash. It lays down quiet, just quietly, and you can do the strip. And you're only fishing 4 to 6 feet of water. And if they go to the weeds, one of the two panga, you have two guys in your boat with you and another guy, they will jump in the water between you and the weeds, and that fish will just steer out to the outside. So it's pretty amazing. But that was the biggest mistake for me, not listening to Steve. I thought he was joking when he said, "Bring a fly rod." Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fish these 200+ pound fish. He was right. And that's where you keep learning, folks, every time. Because at that time when I watched those fish sink out after a couple casts, and Pete and I are very competitive, so we're pounding in the water, and all of a sudden they just sink out. Then it dawned on me, I go, darn it, Steve was right. If I had a fly rod, it's very stealthy, you can keep casting that till they hook it, and then, it's going to be a challenge, but still, there you go. You got to listen to the intel that you get coming out of there.
Absolutely. And you're talking about Peter Demers, who was the longtime athletic trainer for the LA
The
Kings.
Oh,
and
yeah, Pete, and he's very competitive fishing.
I know, man.
Yeah,
I watched him
very,
for many, many
very,
years.
Very competitive.
And, I was watching the hockey game the other night, and the Vegas Knights, not when they won the cup, but the previous game. They won that game, and at the end of the game, they had a fist fight. And the announcer said, "Oh, this is embarrassing." I'm thinking to myself, embarrassing? That's
hockey.
This is getting
You
good.
kidding?
What are you talking about?
That's what hockey's all about.
Is that where we're at now with hockey? That
Oh,
it's embarrassing when they
no.
drop the gloves and start throwing? I mean, I love that part of the game.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I watched the final. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know. They
But who would've
pummeled
thought?
9-2 or something? Or
Yeah, they killed
they
them.
killed them.
But, who would have thought Florida and Las Vegas, these hot states, got the two top teams?
Yeah, I know. I mean, back in the day when I was a kid going to the Forum, it was Montreal, it was, Toronto, it was maybe the Boston Bruins, the Hawks.
It's amazing.
from
You know what I
Chicago.
love, though, Phil? There's a super high percentage of hockey players that fish.
I agree.
And we were blessed. I got to fish with a lot of them over time with Pete.
Yeah.
We had a blast. But they're into that, which is really cool. That's what they do in the off season, so.
Yeah, they're outdoorsmen.
Gotta love 'em.
They
Yeah.
used to be, Canadian farm boys that were lifting bales of hay and strong as an ox.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, were the hockey players.
Oh, yeah.
But they're outdoorsmen, and they're also my experience with hockey players, and I met basketball players, hockey players. I'm not degrading anybody, but hockey players are really down to earth.
Oh, yeah.
They're very
Yeah.
humble.
Yeah.
They're very down to earth.
Yep.
They're very good guys, and many of the basketball guys I know are also
Sure.
Brian
Yeah,
Shaw.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah.
We know Brian really well. And
Yeah.
He's exactly the epitome of, class,
Oh,
when he's out in the public. And,
Yes.
and that's probably one of the reasons why he's been such a good choice as a coach and everything, and
Yes.
a mentor, because he's absolutely first class.
we absolutely love Brian
Yeah.
Shaw, no doubt about
Brian's
that.
awesome.
Omar, great question for Danny. And, Danny, you just mentioned fishing Brazil. Might as well ask you right now, what about the Bay of LA? Because that's one of your favorite places also.
Oh man, how do I start there, folks? It's probably one of the best kept secrets, and it's just phenomenal. It's like going back in time. My dad went down there in the '60s, and I was too young to go down there, but he had I gave him some plastics, and it was very crude back there. I think they were salty dogs, and he came back with all these little nubs, you know, and fishing was just phenomenal. But it's crude, that you don't have. You got flush toilets, but you have to buy the other part of it is your waste paper goes into a basket. It's the
Yeah.
old style.
Yeah, because they get clogged or
I
whatever.
mean, so that's
Yeah.
a game over for Gail. She's not going down there. My wife won't go down there, but
Right.
but the people and the atmosphere down there is phenomenal. And we're going to be doing some new things. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag because Steve's innovating. Leave it to Steve to go into new areas all around the world and make it better. He does it with, for instance, like you, Phil, very similar to you. This last batch of fish they caught, they fed 150 people at a church in Ensenada.
Steve is
with the fish.
awesome.
So,
Yes.
I mean, you think about it, and then the blessing comes to him because he is big-hearted, and he's, that's how Steve is.
Well, you're talking about he makes it better, so you made the point that he makes it better for the people who live there, but he also makes it better for the clients that go fishing.
And our fishermen.
Because, right?
Your intel, he does his homework big time, He'll tell you exactly what you take down there, exactly the approaches to fish it, the way you fish it, So he does the homework for you folks. I highly recommend anytime you want to do any travel, you deal with the Adventure Travel Alliance, with Steve. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to let Jason, because he's a fan favorite. He is the galley cook on the Amigo.
Hey.
You want to get in there and say hi to everybody? Jason, let me mic you up.
Cool.
I'm going to mic you up. You can sit with Danny and talk a little bit about what you've been doing on the Amigo. It's good to see you.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been way too long. And then, you know why? This is a great moment. Well, it's great to see you, but I get to go to the bathroom.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, that's
You guys
perfect.
can talk a little
Danny.
bit about
So how are you, man? I'm going to tell you something.
And then I'll be back to read
All
questions.
these years of running boats, folks, this is the toughest job. And I would tell my crew, if you mess with the cook, I'm going to throw you in the water. But I mean, these are the most important guys, and trust me. And now I've seen the stuff you guys are kicking out. You've elevated it all the way around. It's just like being in a 5-star restaurant. It's unreal. So
Yeah, it's
you
a lot
guys-
different than a few years back when it was just a
my
burger and
God.
a burrito. I mean, we still do
Yeah.
those things because those are the staples, but now dinners, when we're doing day-and-a-half trips and that, I mean, we're doing all the good stuff you can think of.
I thought I was doing good because I was the first one to do the fried rice on the big grill in the Mustang, with the 30-cup rice cookers. And before you know it, it's mainstream, but it's
Yep.
been around forever. But
Definitely.
I did that because it was just easier,
Yep.
right? In the old days, you had to do individual eggs with hash browns. You had to do bacon, ham, sausages, and who knew what was going to have what? There was a lot of waste, Now
definitely.
you do a bacon fried rice with a couple eggs over easy. Man, you can't keep that stuff on the grill. That's
Oh, and it's
gone,
good
man.
the next day, too. Even,
Yeah, exactly.
Reheat it up. It's still
Exactly.
good.
There
In the
you
middle of
go.
the night, the second
Yeah.
chapter, everybody's
You're on
grubbing
your
away
night
on
watch?
it.
Night watch?
Exactly. Throw a little chicken
That's
on
awesome.
there. It's perfect. It makes it easy as
Yeah,
well.
but you guys have really stepped up the level on your cooking, though. I mean,
Definitely,
it's
definitely. All the boats
just
have. It's-
unbelievable. They
it's,
have. Yeah, that's a big
it's
part of
changed
it.
a lot. Yeah, it is. It's definitely, that's part of the thing. And I think, maybe bluefin tuna fishing, has done it too. It's a little slower of a boat ride when you're out there. So it's like, what else can you enjoy but some really good food? And I've seen guys bringing out wine now on their charters. So it's turning into an artsy-fartsy thing with the wine out there. So.
Yeah, see, I was pretty. I dealt with a lot of real hardcore fishermen, so I really didn't want them drinking, and so I kind of gravitated away from that. And I took the real serious guys,
Yep.
But yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
you're
pair
serving a
with your
fine dinner.
that's
Yeah,
what it
exactly.
is.
I get that.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. The guys will, want to shake, and it's, just tasting around. People bring their bottles. They want to let people try.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is so cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting out there. We got a little 3-day stretch going. Or I'm on a 3-day stretch, and then we're jumping into a day and a half at the end of the week. So
Cool.
hopefully fishing will pick up a
Now-
little bit for us.
When Wiggy first got the Amigo, he was one of my code boats down in San Diego. Did you have a diesel stove or diesel grill?
I'm sure back in that day. Now it's all been renovated, so now I
Yeah,
have
no,
an
I
electric
know,
one,
I
so it's
know.
awesome.
I
turn
never
it-
even heard of
I have an
it.
oven now, but
That's
yeah, back in
awesome.
the day it was either that or electric, and I'm sure
Yeah.
all the older boats had,
yeah.
or we're using the oil, the kerosene, like a campfire grill, pretty much.
Yeah, you guys have definitely stepped it up
Yeah,
several
definitely.
notches from when I was around.
Yeah, I'm able to make cookies and do all kinds of
Oh,
fun
my
stuff
God, yeah.
with a little oven.
It's
It's
unreal.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It used to be when I'd go on a long range trip, my wife would say, "Well, how'd you eat?" And I said, "Oh, we have is bread and water."
Yep.
She had no idea until she saw some of the spreads, and I would just say, "Yeah, we eat good."
Yep, I was on
You
the
name it.
Independence years ago on a 5-day, and it was the first long range trip I went on, and I was like, This is like eating at a 5-star restaurant for every meal. Every meal is different. It was it opened my eyes to it, and I was like, wow, this is the
Absolutely.
way to go.
Absolutely, it's gone up like it's unbelievable.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we used to have steak dinners, but that was about it on the 2-dayer. You know, and it was simple compared to all the rest of the
Yeah,
stuff.
now it's
you know.
prime rib
Oh,
and rack of
unreal.
lamb and
Yeah.
pork chop. And
My God, well, Phil and I were out the other day. We were on the Apollo, right?
Yep.
And I ate unbelievable, and I missed. I slept through dinner, and it was crab cakes and salmon. I said, doggone it!
Yep.
I would have got up for that.
Heck yeah, right? It's
Yeah.
like, final call for dinner. Get up here.
Yeah, yeah. I was.
This guy, I call him the life of the party, but he's also an extraordinary chef. He's great.
That's
It's
that's
really
awesome.
good to see you.
Yeah, definitely. It's been so long.
People
I
are
just
on
keep
here.
missing you.
They're happy to see you too.
Cool,
A bunch
awesome,
of people.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to get out there. I'm about to load up stuff and get ready. We got a little charter going, so we got a couple days of charters. And
Well, get out if you gotta get
Awesome.
going.
yeah, I'm gonna go jump out and then get loaded up, and then maybe I'll see you at the end of the show or however
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Thanks,
awesome.
everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping in.
Don't
man.
run out with my microphone. Good to see you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll see you before you leave.
All right, take care.
You know, that's what's great about being down here. You
Oh,
get the
people
real
come
deal. You get the real deal.
I
from the
know,
guys.
right?
You know,
Thank you, Jason.
Where's you gonna get that?
Man,
you know?
that's great, right?
You can't beat that.
And you know what else is great about it? I got to go to the bathroom.
That is
really-
good. That is good.
I was dying over here. Thank God Jason showed up. All right, let's get back here. And,
Holy smokes, it's lit up, huh? Wow.
all right,
I
man.
will keep talking.
Man, there are so many people watching the show. Hit that like button, everybody. We really appreciate it. And let's get back to some more questions here. There's a thing going on with Joe and Dan here. He says Harold Rimmer and Larry Tucker. Do you remember those guys? And Dan says yes. Dan says he did prison time with both those guys. No, I'm only kidding. Tim P., what is Danny's shootout? I don't know. What is it? Do you know?
My shootout on. You're gonna have to get the big crayon for me on that.
Yeah, I know. Danny, sometimes me too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Joe says, great show,
back.
Tim P. Did you ever fish with Kobe? I did.
No, I did.
I did.
I did.
I fished with
Been
Kobe
around with-
Bryant. We did a trip with Rick Slavkin. What was the boat he used to have? Do you remember? It was out of L.A. Harbor. What was the name of that boat?
Shoot.
I forget. So,
Yeah, I'm getting that way too. It's really bad.
I can tell you a few of the details of it. So it was a difficult time during Kobe's career. It was when he had an allegation of something
Oh,
going
yeah,
on.
right.
I don't want to, go through all that. But he came on the boat and he pretty much went in the bunk room. But he was there and he went down. And then I was drinking in those days. So I had a shot of tequila with a guy named Brian Grant, who was a power forward, played center once in a while. Great guy. And so Brian and I, and a couple other guys, with Luke Walton, the whole team was there. Luke Walton,
Wow.
Bishaw, all these guys. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Eugenia, who was the woman who kind of took care of all the guys, she goes, Phil, are you getting these guys drinking? And I go, am I getting them? They're adults? What are you talking about? And right about that time, this blue whale comes up so close to us and just blows. And Brian Grant and I wanted to hug one another. We just both let out a gasp when we went,
Wow.
whoa, that is so cool.
That was a Kodak moment.
That was awesome.
Holy
And we
smokes.
ended up east of the east end of Catalina, if memory serves. I wish Rick Slavkin was on here. And we caught a handful of yellowfin tuna and some skipjack and stuff. But the guys were great. We had a really wonderful time.
That's what
Kobe
counts.
was a gentleman. He was,
That's
it
what
was
counts.
great to have
That's
him.
cool.
But the whole team was there. It was one of those outings for bonding that the teams are required to do or something. And
I don't think
it was
anything
great.
beats that.
No, man.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
That's just one of those memories that I'll
Yeah,
never forget.
yeah.
Also, all right, let's see. Joe Russo, Pete's old saying, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. Man, I'll tell you,
Pete always had good stories.
I saw some.
All those years with the Kings, he had.
Oh my God, I saw
had
some
awesome
great
stories.
fights at those. There was a Toronto. I won't get too much in the weeds here, but I will mention there was a Toronto Maple Leafs playoff game at the Forum, and they went to drop the puck to start the game, and they didn't drop the puck, and every player on the ice dropped their gloves and were going at it. And then somebody checked Rogie Vachon into the glass. Dave Hutchison. Oh, it was Tiger Williams. Dave Hutchison went after him, and they got in this brutal stick fight. I'm talking great hockey, man. I
Blood
loved it.
everywhere.
It was good stuff. And now we got announcers saying, "Oh my God, this is disgusting! Look at their
Oh
fighting."
yeah, yeah,
What the
yeah.
hell's
Well,
going
he's
on
the
here?
announcer's probably drinking Bud Light. Right?
Joe Russo asked Danny about the time we took Adam Deadmarsh and Felix Potvin, a couple Kings players, white sea bass fishing, and I lost the anchor off the bow. Oh, we got to hear this story.
So this is how it happened. So Joe has this. I don't know what the heck it was. A scarab. It had like 300s or something like that on the stern, and we're gonna shoot the Catalina because there's a sea bass bite going on. So the whole thing was Joe will run the boat because it was his friend's boat, and we're going over in the dark, folks, at probably about 60 miles an hour, and we're taking a pounding. We're going,
Wow,
I go,
that's
"Yeah,
fast."
It is fast.
Yeah.
I was getting a nosebleed, and I didn't even play hockey, and. So we get to the west end, and the deal is, okay, Joe hands it over to me, and I'm going to get the boat set up and anchor it up for the white sea bass. So I said, all right, well, go ahead, rig the anchor. And they go, where's the anchor? Well, we sheared the anchor off the bow. That's how
my
hard we were
God.
pounding. And Deadmarsh, Adam was saying, man, I got beat up so bad, that was worse than any of the hockey games I've ever played, right?
Did he say that?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we get around the corner, and the whole fleet is there. And no anchor. I said, well, get the spare anchor. No spare anchor. So I said, all I can do is just wait. And it just so happens Jimmy Peterson, it was a one fish limit at the time. Jimmy Peterson, I have all the pictures. One day we could show all those.
Yeah, yeah.
But we went in, I slid along the kelp once Jimmy pulled out, and we made one cast and we were all done. One cast each and we were done on the sea bass. And that made it into the King's Annual.
Oh, how great.
Our photo, yeah, that thing was in there, so it was pretty cool.
That's
but they had a special with
fantastic.
Adam Deadmarsh, and it was Felix Potvin and Joe and Pete and I. And so it was a blast. It
That's
was a blast,
awesome.
yeah.
Great story. We were out of Redondo on a boat with the Laker guys one time, and Patrick, my son, was like 6 or 7. And Brian Shaw knew that Patrick would do what he was going to do. So he goes, there was a player on the Lakers named Samaki Walker. And he said, Samaki, this little kid's going to bite the head off an anchovy. If he does it, will you do it? And he goes, yeah, sure. That kid's not going to do that. So Patrick just like bites the head off. And Samaki Walker does it and starts throwing up.
I was just going to say.
Somebody's videotaping it. And we went to, they played that on the big screen.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. So
That is awesome.
It was really funny.
Oh,
man.
God.
So, yeah, I know Bisha would remember that. That was really
yeah.
good stuff. Dan Smith says, it's good to see Jason. Nice goat. I put up a picture of a big sheep's head that Jason caught recently, so that was good stuff. Blue Sky says, Jacques Cousteau made the Bay of LA popular with saving the sea turtles down there. Very good.
Well, I don't think people realize, but, when you look at 22nd Street in Portugal or Norm's Landing back in the day, do you realize that scuba diving started here in Southern Cal? Okay.
Was it
And
Maestro
growing up,
Brothers? Or
Remember?
Did they have anything to do with it?
They absolutely. No, it was Bob and Bill.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The
They
body
got
glove.
involved. They got involved with Roger Hess, who had one of the first dive
Right.
boats here.
Right.
Okay. And they started the scuba diving stuff. And that's why, if you look at, what is it, Scuba Pro and the other big company.
Body glove? Or
No, U.S. Divers.
Oh, yeah.
They're all here, based in Southern California.
Yeah.
That's why. Scuba diving started here, folks. If you remember, there was a show called Sea Hunt.
Oh, yeah, with, what was that guy's name? Dan? Oh,
I don't
Dan's
know why
falling
I'm
asleep.
bothering
He's
him.
not paying attention.
Yeah, but no. Anyway, so scuba originated here, and that was another one, And so we had the pleasure of being around dive boat guys, and I would get intel a lot of times from Kenny Hess and Roger. I'd be like at Clemente, I'm going, man, usually we'd been killing them here at Northwest Harbor, but nothing. He says, no, just sit and wait out. They're all sitting down, and so once the current switched and everything, they'd come up and float, and we'd just whack them. But having Kenny Hess and Roger Hess and a lot of the dive boats that were here, Jim Ingram on the Westerly,
Yeah.
Eddie on the Golden Bull, we had a lot of dive boats. We got we were privy to a lot of information that they gave us from what they saw underwater too. So that was a blessing too.
Absolutely.
And just nice to be around the originators of scuba diving.
Cue Ball says, serious AF. Whenever these guys abbreviate something, I'm too dumb to figure it out. So I agree 100% Cue Ball. You're always with us. You're always supportive. For the big yellow Memorial Day weekend, guys. Blue Skies, grab your AAA Baja map for the gas stations. Yeah, you gotta make sure you plan that right.
Yeah.
I can tell you another story about that. This was a hilarious one. I skipped a Pemex station because on the map there's another Pemex station about 100 miles, and if I got to that, we could fuel and then make it a Guerrero Negro.
Yeah.
Well, we start rolling in and we get to the Pemex station and it's closed down. There's no gas there at all.
Oh,
And we have the next place is Guerrero Negro, which is a couple 100 miles. So I start kind of giggling because I don't have any other response. My 2 kids, and they're both young. And like Patrick thought I was giggling because I had it figured out. I was just giggling because I didn't know what the hell to do. And so I finally said, all right, here's what we're doing. Philip, you're getting in a truck. You're going to jump in with a Mexican trucker. You're going to go to the gas station. You're going to get a bunch of gas, and then you're going to come back. He goes, no, I'm not doing that. I said, yeah, you are. I can't leave your little brother alone. There's no way. And so we start going a little bit further. I look off to the right-hand side, and there's a guy with a hand-painted sign saying gasoline for sale. And so I pull up there, and I go, how much? Is it like double the price? He goes, no, same price. I go, how much water's in it? And he laughs. He goes, no, it's good. Fills us up. Same cost. We're on our way to Guerrero Negro by the grace of the Lord above.
a blessing. Because, or if you were here in this country, the guy would say, let me see your wallet. I'll tell you which one.
I know. The guy couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I love the traveling down there. And it's
Me too.
Nice. Yeah, the people are great.
All right, Joe says the Cooks are knocking it out of the park. Yes, they are. Bob Wakai, Slavkin boat was the Seahawk 65 or some footage. It was the Seahawk, but it got renamed, didn't it?
Yeah, and
It was the Seahawk.
I don't know if it was 65, was it?
I don't know.
I don't think it was that big.
All right, and then Bob says he thinks it was the old Blackjack. I don't know about that.
No,
The old Blackjack is now the...
Yeah.
What is that? Ocean Odyssey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
It was
Yeah.
the 80-footer that Norby was running for a while, right?
Yeah. Cue Ball says Danny was saying he only fished with serious guys. Me too. You fished with me.
Yeah.
I'm not that serious.
I was blessed to be around a lot of great fishermen, and that helped our game too, and it helped my crew elevate their game too. So, the level of service and just the fishing knowledge. My crew, they were all tackle nuts. They're all good. I mean, you think about it, the last pinhead we had was Brian Carahar, and look at him. He's got probably one of the premier operations in a long-range fleet. It's not by luck, folks. He worked his behind off, and he started young, and he was a sponge. And he continues to soak it up and raise the same way with them, But yeah, they've earned all that, right? They've earned that.
All right, Danny, we are out of questions, so I think this is a good time. We've been
Wow.
how long?
How
We've
long
been
we been
going
on?
for an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing, man. And I do have to get my throat under control,
Yeah,
get
well,
my beauty
mine
rest.
is never going to get better, but yeah, amazing.
Where are you off to next week? We're not going to have a show next week, correct?
Yeah, I'll be hopefully on fish somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not
When do
sure.
you leave? You're leaving
I leave
Tuesday?
on Tuesday. I
Yeah.
leave on Tuesday. And
8-day trip.
8-day trip, and I think I'm just thinking that we're going to do a couple days of travel to get down below to. I hear there's some fish biting.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've seen some of that fish, and it's really good. Yeah, Dan wants to be a stowaway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Joe
That's what I've
says,
been doing.
thanks, guys. Cue Ball says, good luck, Danny. Danny, there was a ton of people watching the show tonight, and like you, I'm grateful to all those people who watch us. Cue Ball
absolutely.
says, good luck, Danny. Have a great trip.
Save your questions up, folks, and when we get back, we'll take them one by one, knock them out.
All right. Hey, thanks, everybody. All right, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for the morning briefing. Got a lot of good fishing going on right now. We'll keep you in touch with all that. Danny Kadota, one more time, thanks again, my friend.
See you guys. Good fishing.